The Chicago Bulls have had one of the best or one of the worst off seasons in the NBA, depending on how you feel about their moves with regards to whether they have given up too much, whether they have overpaid certain players, and whether they have potentially jeopardized their future with some of these moves they have made within the last 6 months. We are going to focus on the moves within this offseason and see what I think and how I think this Bulls team shapes up moving into this next season after the signings they have made this offseason, most notably, of course, Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, and Alex Caruso. Let's get right into it. The Chicago Bulls have brought in DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and Tony Bradley in this free agency period. Of course, Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan via sign and trades. And they have lost Daniel Theis, Garrett Temple, Thaddeus Young, Al-Farouq Aminu, Thomas Satoransky, and a future first-round pick, which I believe is their first-round pick in 2025, as they could not trade away their 2022 or 2024 first-round picks, as those are now property of the Orlando Magic. They have also re-signed Javonte Green, and are now at a point where they are over the salary cap, but below the luxury tax. This is with Patrick Williams still on a rookie deal, and Kobe White still on a rookie deal. Lauri Markkanen has still not been re-signed or traded, but it is expected that there will be a sign and trade with him at some point in this offseason period. And so with that being said, DeMar DeRozan, of course, was the biggest piece as far as the biggest name. Lonzo Ball was the first one they added pretty much as soon as free agency started, and he's signed on a 4-year deal worth $85 million. He comes in, he allows Kobe White to step back a little bit. He'll come in and be this. Kobe White will now be the sixth man. Lonzo Ball will be that starting point guard, a bit more of a playmaking point guard, someone who's a bit more playmaking focused, someone who can, in my opinion, play off the ball better. I think Kobe White is much more of an on-ball scorer, whereas Lonzo Ball is a very good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. I think that'll fit in for the Chicago Bulls team very well. Whether he plays on the ball as a point guard or off the ball with Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan being great playmakers and great on-the-ball guys as well, it will fit well within the system. I think 4 years, $85 million is a lot of money, sure, you could say, for Lonzo Ball, but he gives you good defense, especially on help defense, team defense. On the ball, he's not amazing. He's still fine, and off the ball, he is one of the best guards at it in the league. And he's going to have to be good for them defensively because that's still one of their biggest concerns this year. But I think the team fit is good. I think he's going to be a fine player for Chicago, and I think the deal, as far as money goes, is pretty good, all things considered. DeMar DeRozan is the one where it's a bit more controversial. You give up, of course, the pieces that you did in the sign and trade, just like you did with Lonzo Ball. It accumulated up to Garrett Temple, Thaddeus Young, Al-Farouq Aminu, Thomas Satoransky, and that future first-round pick. But you're seeing now DeMar DeRozan coming on a 3-year deal at $85 million, which is more than I think most would have expected him to get, and probably more than a lot of people would have been comfortable with him getting. And even though he is in his 30s, it is only a 3-year deal. And as much as DeMar DeRozan does have a lot of athleticism and especially used it more earlier in his career, his strength is not based on half of his athleticism. He is a mid-range god, and he is a good playmaker. Defensively, he's never been good, even though you would have thought with his athleticism he would have been. So I don't think he's going to age that poorly. I think he should age well and should be very productive for Chicago on this 3-year deal. I think it's a good signing for them. He can bring them in another very good playmaker. This is going to be one of the best playmaking, ball-moving teams in the league as far as I'm concerned, as they were already a fairly good playmaking team last year. Now they bring in Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, two more very good playmakers. I think you could definitely argue that the DeMar DeRozan deal isn't great, but it makes them relevant, and it gets them in a spot where, similar to something the Knicks have tried to do previously now last year, this is a big or bigger market team in Chicago. If they can get relevant, they can try and add some free agents down the line, and that is going to be positive for them. And so there's an advantage to being just competent and giving up assets to being just competent when you are a big market team. When you're the Toronto Raptors, if you're giving up 3 of your future firsts to be a 5 or a 6 seed on a consistent basis, give and take, that's your rough spot. That's at least where I have the Bulls penciled in. then that's not ideal, because that's probably now your ceiling and you need those picks to grow, because that's your best place to grow. And that goes for any smaller market. Of course, there's many smaller markets in Toronto, but when you're Chicago, having a competent team and having that ability to down the line potentially bring in free agents if they make some trades, shuffle salaries. Obviously, they don't have the money right now, but they have the ability to potentially be able to do so. If they are competent, then they might get free agents being interested. Something to note. Caruso, I think, is going to be a very good add for them. They needed some more perimeter defense. Coby White's not giving that to them. Zach LaVine was better at the Olympics, but remains to be seen whether he's going to give that to them. DeMar DeRozan, of course, is not giving that to them on the wing or at the guard spot. So I think Caruso is going to be very important for them to come in and do that, give them a lot of energy and a spark off the bench. He got paid as he deserved to by the Chicago Bulls team on what I think is a fairly good value deal. And then Tony Bradley comes in to be the backup center, I quite like, because Daniel Theis got way more money than he should have as far as I'm concerned, or at least way more years than he should have. At 29, he gets signed for a 4-year deal. I realize not all those years are guaranteed. 4 years for Daniel Theis is a lot of term for a 29-year-old big. Tony Bradley in there on a 2-year minimum. I like that pickup. And then you have the likes of Garrett Temple going to the Pelicans on what I think is going to be a 3-year deal. Thaddeus Young and Al-Farouq Aminu end up in the Spurs in that sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan, and Thomas Satoransky moves to the Pelicans. And of course, Javonte Green will come back as well. So when you're thinking about how the Chicago Bulls team will shape up, you're looking at a scenario with the starting lineup of Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic, which is a very strong starting 5. This is no doubt a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. No doubt about it. They are much better than they are last year. They've added Lonzo Ball. Lets Coby White be a 6th man, but I think is his most natural role. DeMar DeRozan comes in to give them another good presence as well. It's going to be the first full season with Nikola Vucevic. And I don't doubt that Zach LaVine is going to be absolutely balling out this year just like he did last year. And the fact it's his contract year, so he's going to want to try and secure that max. You're going to have Coby White and Alex Caruso at the bench with Troy Brown Jr., Javonte Green, and Tony Bradley. Some nice options there. I think it's probably a 9-man rotation that they end up using with Troy Brown Jr. and Tony Bradley, along with Caruso and Coby White. Devon Dotson has also been brought back, and so he could feature a little bit as well. And this is a good Chicago Bulls team. Now, as per the title of this video, do I think the Chicago Bulls are an NBA title contender? No, I don't. I really don't. I think they're right in behind them, but I don't think this is a team that can compete with the Nets or the Bucks or the Lakers. I don't think they're that caliber of team. I think they're good, but if you're telling me that Zach LaVine is going to carry you to a title, I don't think I can believe that as Zach LaVine being your number 1 guy. Maybe carry isn't the right word, because there's a lot of good surrounding pieces here. But Zach LaVine's probably not going to be that guy that leads you. DeMar DeRozan probably isn't going to be that guy that leads you. We've seen that with Toronto. I also have concerns about their defense. Lonzo Ball is a fine defender. Patrick Williams is a good defender. But Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic, you could argue they're 3 best players. They're 3 at some point in time in their career all-stars, are bad defenders. Now, again, as I mentioned, Zach LaVine looked better at the Olympics. We'll see if that continues. Nikola Vucevic has never been a greatly positive defender for the center spot. And as much as DeMar DeRozan looked like he had defensive potential, he has never really been that great on the defensive end either. Coby White is not that great on the defensive end either. So I have a lot of question marks around the fact that a lot of their key pieces that are going to be playing 30, 35 plus a night are bad defensively. And so I don't expect their defense to be that good, especially when one of the pieces I'm concerned about on their defense is their center. That's never a good sign. You need a good defensive center in this league to be successful. Generally speaking, there are exceptions, aka Brooklyn Nets, but that is a very large exception, and the Bulls don't have that level of talent here. I think that's quite obvious. So I think the Chicago Bulls are going to be a much improved team next year. I think they've made good moves. I think it'll help them in the long run as well as in the present, or at least give them the opportunity to be able to help themselves in the long run via free agency. There's still upside for this team. Coby White is still young. Patrick Williams is still young. Lonzo Ball is still young. There's still potential room for development. Of course, the free agency of Zach LaVine does loom, as well as Nikola Vucevic 2 years down the road. But as of right now, this team looks solid. It's a much improved team, and it looks to be a team that could finish probably as high as 4th in the Eastern Conference, and if nothing else, should get themselves into the play-in games and hopefully get in. But I'm sure a lot of Chicago Bulls fans would hope for a lot better than the play-in games, and I would suspect that they will do so this season. That is my thoughts on the Chicago Bulls off-season and their upcoming season. If you guys did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to hear my thoughts on everything else NBA offseason, be sure to click the box on the right hand side of the screen. That being said, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.